We usually grade NFL offseasons by tallying up the biggest names signed in free agency and the highest overall draft picks acquired. But grading purely on talent ignores a crucial metric: timeline alignment. This means matching a team's resources directly to their actual, realistic competitive window. Front offices and fan bases regularly get distracted by the allure of a shiny new star player. In the process, they ignore the stark realities of their current roster infrastructure. This alignment matrix maps ROI by comparing roster readiness on the horizontal axis against acquisition timelines on the vertical. Teams raising their floors map directly into appropriate quadrants. Conversely, teams compromising their ceilings scatter into mismatched zones, misaligning talent with their actual window. A highly rated player added to the wrong competitive window does not yield an upgrade. It introduces strategic friction, ultimately wasting valuable capital. Floor raising starts in the trenches. It is the strategy of aggressively acquiring veteran offensive and defensive linemen to guarantee a baseline of competitive stability. We saw this when the Titans and Commanders utilized available cap space to secure veteran linemen like John Franklin Myers and Odafayo Owe. These additions rarely lead the league in individual statistics. What they do is insulate a roster against structural collapse, preventing those devastating losing streaks that derail a season by November. The Cincinnati Bengals executed a textbook version of this strategy by trading for elite defensive tackle Dexter Lawrence. This shows how Lawrence alters the math. By forcing two blockers to engage him inside, he creates an unblocked path for an edge rusher. This lets the Bengals generate pressure without relying on younger players for historic 17-sack seasons. By securing the point of attack, these front offices have effectively bought an insurance policy. They guarantee their heavy investments on offense won't be erased by a defense that easily collapses. Let's look at what we call the situational incubator. This is the idea that a rookie's early career value is dictated almost entirely by the infrastructure surrounding them, rather than their college tape. The Raiders built a controlled environment for rookie Fernando Mendoza, mapping out a plan for his study development. By bringing in Kirk Cousins, Las Vegas provided a seasoned mentor familiar with Clint Kubiak's system to ease Mendoza's transition into the professional game. Furthermore, they have elite center Tyler Linderbaum calling the protections. This allows Mendoza to outsource the complex, high-pressure mental processing at the line of scrimmage and focus entirely on throwing the football. Compare that setup to what running back Jeremiah Love is walking into with the Arizona Cardinals. Drafted 3rd overall, he joins an offense relying on a shaky quarterback depth chart of Jacoby Brissett, Gardner Minshew, and Carson Beck. Love secured significant financial guarantees thanks to his time in the NIL era. However, from a competitive standpoint, his physical prime is being spent on a roster projected to finish at the bottom of the league. That lack of internal infrastructure is compounded by a brutal external environment, as Arizona immediately faces one of the most unforgiving schedules in the highly competitive NFC West. In the 2026 offseason, the Raiders used their resources to buy Mendoza a sustainable future, while the Cardinals simply bought up the most valuable years of Love's career to put on a bad team. Then we have the front offices operating in win-now situations that actively chose to lower their immediate ceiling by mismatching their timelines. The Los Angeles Rams held the 13th overall pick, a prime asset to acquire an immediate contributor like wide receiver Malik Lemon. Instead, they drafted a developmental quarterback in Ty Simpson. This decision ignores the biological clock ticking on their current roster, specifically for Matthew Stafford, who is coming off an MVP-caliber season. Adding a player who will effectively take 0 meaningful snaps this year provides absolutely 0 return on investment for an organization whose sole immediate objective is winning a second Super Bowl in 6 years. We see a similar misalignment with the Jacksonville Jaguars. They made the calculated choice to let foundational stars like Travis Etienne and Devin Lloyd leave the building in free agency. Trying to replace second-team all-pro linebackers and elite running backs with unproven rookie draft classes creates a massive void in the roster. It places an unsustainable weekly burden directly onto Trevor Lawrence's shoulders. When a team with championship aspirations spends its premium capital on future projects or lets established talent walk, they create timeline friction. It is the fastest way for a contender to fall back into the pack. This scorecard lays out exactly where these organizations stand. On the left, in green, are the teams fully synchronized with their specific timelines. On the right, in red, are the rosters actively fighting timeline friction. For those looking to invest, buy into the Bengals and the Giants. These front offices showed objective self-awareness about their flaws and methodically addressed their trenches to stabilize their floors. For patient dynasty managers, rookie quarterback Fernando Mendoza is the ultimate long-term hold developing inside an elite, controlled infrastructure. Conversely, avoid heavy emotional or fantasy investment in the Rams and Jaguars. Their off-seasons introduce major structural questions that cap their immediate seasonal ceiling, regardless of their star power, and you should actively sell shares of Jeremiah Love. No amount of individual talent can outrun a broken offensive infrastructure trapped in the toughest division. The flashiest signings and highest-profile draft picks are rarely the decisions that dictate success on the field once the regular season starts. Judge every move not by the player's name, but by whether the franchise is actually acting their actual competitive age.